Do you wish you had the body you once had before you had your children? Do you look at other people and compare yourself and wonder why they were able to bounce back when you were unable to? All of these things are normal, given how much emphasis we have in our culture about looking a certain way. This episode is inspired by episode 161 with Amanda Mittman, who is a registered dietitian, intuitive eating coach, and a body image coach. So you can go back and listen to that episode to get even more information about how she helps people deal with these topics. So let's get into it. So I know that for me, I have had a difficult relationship with my body from some of my earliest moments. Not feeling good in swimsuits, not feeling like I looked like the other girls, not having the same name brand clothing as other people. And then, of course, I had the added complication of wearing a prosthetic leg and feeling so different in that way, especially as I entered into the junior high years and into high school when everybody is comparing their bodies. And then when I got pregnant for the first time, I actually felt this sense of relief. My body was growing and my stomach was getting bigger, but that was expected and it was okay. And I felt so good in my own skin. I felt really beautiful. I loved my stomach. And then when I had my first child and that weight didn't just magically fall off while I was breastfeeding, I was so disappointed. And I hear this from so many of my clients. And a couple of years into being a parent, I worked really hard to lose a bunch of weight. And I actually even told myself that I would not allow myself to get pregnant until I had done that. And I was in my early 30s at this time, which for some people feels old. For me, it was young. And so for the first time in my life, really, I was able to diet using a popular weight loss program and lose the weight. And then I immediately got pregnant again. And even though I continued to consistently work out during my pregnancy and lift weights, during this second pregnancy, I had a much more difficult time coming to terms with the growth of my body, even though I was growing a literal human being inside of me. And that pregnancy, my body image was way different. I wasn't as happy about my stomach. I was more worried about how much weight I was gaining. And I had a much harder time feeling happy about the changes that my body was having. And that was because I had worked so hard to lose all this weight, and I was worrying a lot more about if I would ever get the weight off.
When I first returned to work, I had no idea how I was going to manage going to work, handling drop-offs and pickups, and doing all the other duties I needed to do, like get dinner on the table between my husband and me. If you are in this situation, I've got a solution for you. Go to feastandfettle.com, where you can select from a menu of delicious options and have home-cooked meals delivered right to your front door. Imagine taking meal planning off your plate, taking grocery shopping off your plate for those dinners, and knowing that all you have to do is pick up your baby, get home, and heat and serve meals that you have selected for your family. If you live in Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, and now Maine, go to feastandfettle.com and use my code MILK, M-I-L-K, to get $30 off your first order. You've got nothing to lose.
So fast forward, I've had my baby, and I immediately started weighing almost within the first couple of weeks after having the baby and tracking my food and trying to get the weight off. And lo and behold, it never really did come off. And I was so disappointed by this. In fact, sometimes I really still am, that my body had changed so drastically and that it felt like if I wanted to get any amount of the weight off, that I had to work double or triple what I had worked previously. And I knew that if I was speaking to a friend, I would tell that friend, hey, don't worry, you're still in the early postpartum period. It's going to be okay. Your body is going to adapt as it needs to. Right now, your focus should be on nourishing your body and moving to feel good. You're getting very little sleep. You're taking care of 2 other human beings. But because it was me dealing with this and not a friend, it was much harder for me to talk to myself in that same way. And I know I hear from a lot of my clients that this is difficult too. There is this idea out there that people who breastfeed, they just get the weight off, that it just sheds off of them. And this is really highly dependent on genetic factors, your metabolism, how much your baby is eating, how much sleep you're getting, what your hormone levels are. It is not just a matter of if you breastfeed, you will lose weight. And so I would like to just clear up this misconception that breastfeeding does not equal necessarily weight loss, even though so many people feel like it does and spread this myth. Your hormones are fluctuating greatly during the postpartum period, and your sleep patterns are so much different that it really isn't reasonable to expect to bounce back. And we're at a time when we really do need to nourish our bodies more than we do outside of this period. So if you are someone who is struggling with your body image, if you are struggling with the idea that your body has changed permanently, if you look at your breasts and wonder, will they ever be the same? If you look at the stomach that carried your children and wonder, is it ever going to be smaller? I just want you to know that you are not alone in these feelings, that so many people struggle with this. And it is possible to both come to terms with what your body looks like now and enjoy food and move in ways that make you feel good without focusing strictly on weight loss or focusing on weight loss at all. Because if we are able to change our own mindsets around this, then that is going to greatly impact the way that our children view themselves and their bodies and the bodies of their peers. What if we lived in a world where we didn't judge someone's health by the shape or the size of their body? What if we allowed each person to decide for themselves what felt good for them when it comes to eating and food? What if we lived in a world where people were not constantly restricting their access to food, making it even more difficult when they encountered food that they found to be delicious, but felt like they shouldn't be eating? If we could start thinking about our bodies in ways that are more positive, if we could be thankful for the things that our bodies do for us, if we could be thankful for the ways that our bodies have grown and nourished our children, and know that, of course, they're not going to look exactly the same after that, what difference would that make for our own mental health and for the health of our children? How much time would be freed up if we weren't focusing so much on counting calories or tracking food or worrying about whether or not something is going to help us lose weight or gain weight? I think we'd all get a lot of time back. So just like my guest Amanda Mittman discussed, of course, it's normal for us to have these feelings, but wouldn't it be great to live in a world where our own kids don't struggle as much with their feelings about their own body, and they didn't have so much self-hatred for not looking a certain way or fitting into a certain size clothing? So I just want to throw my story out there as an example of somebody who has both been quite skinny, who I have been quite athletic, I have been all shapes and sizes, and I'm still not in this perfect place where I look at myself in the mirror and think, oh man, I'm so glad I have this body in that size and shape, but I'm working on it. And when I get in those places where I'm feeling discouraged by the size of my body, I try to turn inward and to show my gratitude for the things that my body has done for me, and to remember that it's not about morality. It's not about whether or not I'm a good or a bad person. So I hope that this has been encouraging to you to hear my own example of how I have been impacted by body image. And I would love to hear your stories of how the perinatal period has impacted your body image. So if you would like to share your story, please join the Milk Making Minutes community group on Facebook. Be sure to answer all the membership questions so that I can let you in and we can have that discussion over there. And you can reach out to me also by email, lo@quabbandbirthservices.com. If you are struggling with how feeding your baby impacts your own mental and emotional health and the way that you feed yourself, I would love to conduct a consult with you. Please reach out to me at lo@quabbandbirthservices.com. Talk to you soon. Bye.